Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I am Uzma Jafri. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 7th of December. Indian Prime Minister Modi holds public rally in poll-bound Gujarat province. US Secretary of State calls for further NATO action against militants in Afghanistan. And voters exercise their franchise in final round of Nepal polls. And now for all the details. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday addressed a public rally in his home province, Gujarat. His visit to the western province was crucial as it was the last day for campaigning ahead of the first phase of Gujarat Assembly polls to be held later this week.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday held a public rally in Surat city in his home province, Gujarat. His visit to Gujarat was crucial as it was the last day of campaigning ahead of the first phase of Gujarat Assembly polls to be held on Saturday. He highlighted his ruling Bharatiya Janata Party's achievements and lashed out at opposition Congress Party for looting the common people with its policies. He vowed to work for the upliftment of the poor while speaking about the practicality of his new policies.
દેશને સંકટોમાંથી બહાર લાવીને વિકાસની નવી ઊંચાઈ પર પહોંચાડનારા લોકો છીએ અને અમારો ટ્રેક રેકોર્ડ છે.
The polling for the two-phase elections in 180-seat Gujarat Assembly will be held on December 9th and 14th. The election results will be declared on December 18th.
A Pakistan-based Hizbul Mujahideen militant believed to be involved in the killing of a soldier in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province was arrested on Wednesday. The militant had allegedly conspired to kill the soldier along with 3 others in November.
Police in Shopian district of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province on Wednesday arrested a militant in connection with the killing of a soldier last month. Bullet-riddled body of Sepoy Irfan Dar, a soldier of Indian Territorial Army, was found in his native village of Butmula in the province on November 25 while he had come home on leave. The investigation conducted so far has identified the militant as Muzammil, a member of Pakistan-based militant group Hizbul Mujahideen. He had conspired with 3 others to kill Dar, police said.
Investigation of this case, we have arrested a person named Muzammil who belongs to village Shirmal. This Muzammil was arrested in the conspiracy that resulted in execution of this murder. We have identified the militants who were involved in this case. Hizbul Mujahideen se belong karne wale Saddam Padar, who also belongs to village Hef. Bilal Mohan also belongs to village Hef. Both villages are in Shopian.
India has long accused Pakistan of training and arming militants and also helping them infiltrate across the line of control or LOC, a de facto border that divides Kashmir. Pakistan denies those allegations.
In news from Pakistan, the Islamabad High Court on Thursday provided a partial relief to Pakistan's ousted Premier Nawaz Sharif, seeking joint trial in 3 corruption references against him. The High Court judgment, however, rejected the petition filed by Sharif seeking the clubbing, but it contained a silver lining for him, allowing simultaneous recording of statements and cross-examinations of witnesses in all the 3 references. An accountability court has been hearing 3 corruption references against Sharif and his family filed by the National Accountability Bureau for owning assets beyond known sources of income. In news from Afghanistan, US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson on Wednesday appreciated the NATO's commitment to US's counter-terrorism efforts. He also urged the alliance to further leverage action plan against militancy in Afghanistan.
US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson on Wednesday urged NATO to further leverage the action plan to strengthen the alliance's resilience against terrorist attacks in Afghanistan. While addressing a press conference at NATO headquarters in Brussels, Tillerson appreciated NATO's commitments to the United States' counterterrorism efforts.
Yesterday, we discussed how to further leverage the action plan to strengthen the Allies' resilience against terrorist attacks, and in particular to build upon NATO's already long-standing commitments in Iraq and Afghanistan, increase their cooperation as the President has announced his new South Asia strategy.
While unveiling his new strategy for Afghanistan and South Asia in August, US President Donald Trump had promised a stepped-up military campaign against insurgent groups in the region. In the meantime, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has said that the partnership between the alliance and Afghanistan is very strong, and that the NATO forces are working shoulder to shoulder with the Afghan security forces for peace in the country. He said the NATO will soon review the security situation in Afghanistan and the country's ongoing reforms.
Moving on to news from Nepal. Nepalis on Thursday voted in the second and final phase of parliamentary and provincial polls held in 45 districts of the country. Nepal's Election Commission has put the preliminary voter turnout at 67%.
Voting in the second and final round of parliamentary and provincial elections in Nepal was held on Thursday. The polls covered 45 districts of the country to elect 128 representatives for the parliament and 256 for the provincial councils. The first phase of the elections was held on November 26th. The elections pitted the ruling Nepali Congress Party against a tight-knit alliance of CPN UML and CPN Maoist Centre. They were a key step to complete a near decade-long democratic transition after the abolition of the centuries-old monarchy. The election results are expected to be announced within 10 days, according to an Election Commission official.
Fishermen's Association, along with local fishermen in India's southern Tamil Nadu province on Thursday, carried out a protest against the ill treatment of Indian fishermen lodged in Sri Lankan jails. Fishermen from both countries frequently stray into each other's territory and end up spending years in jails.
Fishermen Association in Rameshwaram city of India's southern Tamil Nadu province on Thursday carried out a protest against the ill treatment of Indian fishermen lodged in Sri Lankan jails. They took it to the streets and raised slogans demanding immediate intervention of Indian government in securing the release of the arrested fishermen. The families of the arrested fishermen are distressed as they allege they have been deprived of even basic necessities like food and healthcare in Lankan jails.
இலங்கை சிறையில் மீனவர்கள் ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்படுறாங்க. சாப்பாட்டுகளில் அவங்களுக்கு நோய் வந்துருச்சு, சிரமப்பட்டுக்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க. அவங்க குடும்பம் இங்கே சிரமப்பட்டுக்கிட்டு இருக்கு. அதையெல்லாம் கண்டித்து இன்னைக்கு மாபெரும் ஆர்ப்பாட்டம் நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்கு. ஒரு வாரம் படகுகள் கடலுக்கு போல இந்த சூழ்நிலையை கண்டித்து இன்னைக்கு இலங்கை சிறையில் இருக்கின்ற மீனவர்கள் படகுகளை உடனே விடுதலை பண்ணணும்.
India shares an expansive oceanic border with Sri Lanka without any perceptible demarcation. Fishermen from both the countries often breach the undemarcated boundary line, leading to their arrest and then landing into jails for several years. Sri Lanka has long fumed over alleged poaching and illegal fishing by Indian fishermen that it says depletes the catches of its own fishermen.
With the onset of winters, more than 300,000 migratory birds have nestled in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province. Authorities have stepped up arrangements by making pools and channels in wetlands, expecting the numbers to increase.
The gloomy winter landscape of Indian Kashmir has come alive with a myriad of colors as more than 300,000 winged visitors from as far as Central Asia and Europe have arrived in the valley. The migratory birds started arriving in the valley during autumn as the region presents them a comparatively hospitable alternate habitat compared to the extreme freezing conditions in their natural habitats. The birds are at Hokersar wetland of the valley where they're being fed and kept protected by the Wildlife Department.
लगातार रहती है 2 महीने तक ये आते हैं. अक्टूबर और नवंबर तक ये आते हैं. तो ये बिल्कुल जमा हो जाते हैं नवंबर में ये ट्रांजिट होते हैं. ये जो आपका होकरसर है ये ट्रांजिट डिपो है. यहाँ पर जमा हो जाते हैं सब परिंदे. तो यहाँ से ये बाकी जगहों पर जाते हैं. जहाँ पर इनको देखते हैं, जहाँ पर इनको खाना मिलता है तो वहाँ से रुक करते हैं.
The birds present a beautiful picture bringing cheer to bird watchers of the valley. The number of birds is expected to increase from 300,000 to several hundred thousand as per an official.
Though automotive industry has developed quite much, the passion for collecting vintage cars is fondly celebrated amongst car lovers. A man in India's northern Uttarakhand province has a collection of more than 30 vintage cars at his place.
With more than 35 vintage cars collected, a man in India's northern Uttarakhand province is continuing his quest to keep the legacy alive. The car collector, Dr. Farooq, who resides in Dehradun city of the province, has a collection of several vintage cars. Some of them date back to 1926. He bought the first piece of his collection, a golden Hindustan Ambassador, for approximately $19. He went on to add Jeep models which were used in World War I, a 1930 Austin 7, a 1965 Volkswagen Beetle, Fiat cars and an entire series of Ambassador cars.
उस वक्त में कैसे लोग रहते थे, उनके पास गाड़ियाँ थीं या नहीं थीं, तो इंडिया जो है खुशहाल लोग हमेशा से रहे यहाँ पर, और ये गाड़ियाँ जो हैं ये उसकी पहचान है और इनको प्रिजर्व करना चाहिए, वरना तो ये टीन की है बनी हुई, ये तो ख़त्म हो जाएगा अगर जो ऐसे इनको प्रिजर्व ना किया गया.
Dr. Farooq participates in vintage car rallies held in the province and is now looking forward to expand his collection. Antique car collection is a hobby that is practiced by people across the world. The art of finding, restoring and reselling vintage cars is considered a good means of investment.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Indian Prime Minister Modi holds public rally in poll-bound Gujarat province. US Secretary of State calls for further NATO action against militants in Afghanistan. And voters exercise their franchisee in final round of Nepal polls. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.